continuing on with the subphylum Gnathostomi. We're now going to be talking about the next three groups are really part of a group called the Osteichthyes. All three of these groups have bony skeletons. They have an operculum, which means like a kind of a bony flap that covers their gills, allows them to control water going across their gills. They have a swim bladder, which helps control the buoyancy. They have flattened bony scales. They have a lateral line, again, just like the sharks. And they have mucus on their skin to help defend against external parasites and osmotic concerns. And also most of them are oviparous, means that they lay eggs. So there are three classes in this group. There's Actinopterygii. These are the typical fish that you think of, like bass or perch or those kind of fish. They have ray fins, meaning that they have fins that have flexible cartilage in them, and usually at least four sets. The back two sets might not be as developed. Or not, I'm sorry, not four sets, two sets, but the back two might not be as developed, but also they have tail fin and the lateral fins. They have the actinistia. These are coelacanths. These are very primitive, considered kind of primitive fish. They're very dinosaur looking. And the dipnoi, which are lungfish. So these guys have lobed fins as opposed to ray fins. They kind of have like a fleshy extension before the actual fin part. And in fact, some of them can walk over land for short distances. All right, so the next group are all considered tetrapods. Tetrapods means that they have four limbs that actually have feet with digits on them. They also have a pelvic and pectoral girdle that is fused to the backbone. And all of these are bony because everything, from here down has these features mostly, but the boniness continues here. In this case, though, everything from here on out doesn't have the gill slits in the adults. Because they're moving towards land living. All right, so one class that's here or one of the classes is amphibia. Amphibians, what that means is two lives. These are frogs and salamanders and toads. Most of them live near water because of their life cycle. They will have a metamorphosis. They lay their eggs in the water, develop into tadpoles, and then adults. But some of them, like toads, for example, might only lay their eggs in moist environments and actually not have the metamorphosis like described right here. They have defense features for land, such as poison ducts or some kind of camouflaging, or they also have very powerful hind legs that allow them to escape predators. They have external fertilization, though, which is why they need moist environments, and they have moist skin for gas exchange. Generally, frogs, for example, do have lungs. The amphibia also have very diverse social behavior, including things like calls and/or mating rituals, things like that. Okay, so the next group. Besides being tetrapods, they are also what we call amniotes. That means that they have what we call an amniotic egg, or their development of the embryo is completely without need of being near water. All right. So the amniotic egg has some special features. The amniotic egg is it's got a shell on the outside that is permeable to gases but not fluids, and that is what enables the water that starts off inside the egg to remain in there. So this is basically like creating like a little lake or a little water environment inside that allows for gas exchange. So the amniotic egg has a couple of layers. The albumin, which is kind of like this part out here, which is the protein layer, provides food for the embryo. It has the embryo is right here. It has the yolk, which is the yellow part. This is the actual food that is the embryo is eating. The albumin is like supportive, and this is the actual like fatty stuff, the food stuff. They also have the amnion, which is surrounding the embryo, and later on in placental mammals, like when we talk about reproduction, you'll see that kind of continues on, and some of these parts will be like the placenta. And the allantois, which is like the waste area. In other words, after the baby or the embryo metabolizes things, the waste products build here. So this will go down as it develops, and this will go up as it develops. And the chorion is simply the membrane that is surrounding the whole thing. So anyway, this is a typical amniotic egg. These are part of Reptilia. Reptilia, or one of the classes is Reptilia. It has turtles, lizards, snakes. They have scales that have keratin or protein, which helps for waterproofing. Or if it's like a turtle or something, it might have scutes, which are they're a little more permeable. They have true lungs. They have internal fertilization, but they will secrete shells. Some snakes are viviparous. In other words, they have their babies born live, but most of them have eggs of some sort. And they are all ectothermic, meaning that they don't, they have a broad temperature range. Their metabolism slows with, or goes up and down with temperature, I should say. So like if it's warm, it's faster, and if it's really cold, it slows way down, except for birds. Birds are endothermic. The groups include Lepidosauras, which are tuataras or lizards or snakes, turtles, alligators, and crocodiles, and birds. And birds are kind of a special group. In fact, they used to break them off and not include them in Reptilia, but because of the fact that they are endothermic, and they have like a 4-chambered heart, very efficient lungs, and they have very complex social behavior, very large brains for their body, acute vision. But they're modified for flight, so they don't have a bladder. The female only have one ovary. Their gonads are small unless they're doing reproduction. They have very light, hollow bones, and they have feathers for insulation. So insulation, because they're endothermic. Feathers are thought to be kind of like modified scales. So scales that would be on, let's say, a snake are modified to be sort of fuzzier and enable that endothermy. And also, of course, you might remember from Core 1, the bone lab, where we were talking about the reduction of the bones and the hollow, the extension of the bones. So here is showing you like the hollow inside, making them lighter. So that's an adaptation for flight. All right. And then the last group that is also considered an amnio, but in this case, they have full development on the inside of the body, and these are mammalia. And I'm sorry, not on the inside of the body. I misspoke that. In other words, they do have like some kind of development, just like all the amnios do, on the inside of an egg region, if it's an egg, or on the inside of the body if it's a marsupial or a placenta. In the mammalia, though, the features that they have are hair, mammary glands, and they are endothermic. And there are 3 kind of groups of these. They're monotremes, which are platypus. These guys are weird because they do have eggs. But then after the eggs hatch, the babies feed on mammary glands. The platypus also has hair. They're considered mammals. And the marsupials have their young born somewhat undeveloped, and then they develop further within a pouch. The pouch has the mammary glands on the inside, and as the baby develops further, it'll go in and out of that pouch. And then you have the placentals, which is us. The young are born fully developed. They can survive without the mother. They rely on the placenta for full nutrition, etc. Now, the placentals, of course, have many groups, many orders, but I just wanted to show you, some of the groups here. So here's like an ancestral primate, which is one of the main groups, and we, of course, are primates, so this is why I'm mentioning it. And of the primates, there's many groups of them, so you can see that there's a lot of different, a lot of diversity which in this group. You can see that you have what is known as New World monkeys, and then Old World monkeys, which are more related to us. Things like the gibbons that are over in the zoo, or the rhesus monkeys. And then orangutans and gorillas and chimps are very closely related. A lot of the genetics are very, very similar to humans.